Story time of how my best friend was catfished by my dad. So me and my best friend were kind of just like swiping through Tinder for fun. And then she came across this really, really hot dude. So of course, she swiped right and they talked all night long. And he said he had an Android so he couldn't FaceTime, but his messages were blue, so I thought something was off. She was too blinded to see that something was up in the first place because she was messaging with a really hot guy. So about a week of them just like texting back and forth and I guess getting to know each other, they decided that they were gonna meet up. So they both decided that they were gonna meet up at an Olive Garden near them. And you see, as her best friend, of course, I'm gonna have to go with her. So I got dressed up and I sat about 5 tables away from her. And we got there about 30 minutes earlier than we were supposed to be there. Okay, so my best friend had 3 bowls of fettuccine alfredo before he got there. So when he got there, it wouldn't look like she ate a lot. Then I see my dad walk in, all dressed up and fancy with a bow tie and everything. This story time just gets so much more funnier, so like for a part 2. Part 2 of how my best friend was catfished by my dad. Continuing with the story, I see my dad walk into the restaurant all dressed up. Mind you, my dad's married. To my mother, of course. So I was like, ooh, my dad and my mom are finally going on a date together. And then he looks over to my best friend and walks over to the table. When I tell you my heart dropped, my heart has never sank so deep inside me so fast. He sits down and asks her, is this Mackenzie? When I tell you I busted out laughing so freaking hard I fell out of my chair. And almost everybody in the restaurant turned around and looked at me, and so did my dad. And I walk over to the table and I'm like, what the heck is going on here? My best friend is literally just sitting there in shock, no emotion on her face. Then he looks at us, he looks really confused, his face goes blank, and then he goes, I was just trying to teach y'all girls a lesson. I told my mom and I was just getting a laugh out of it, and then she looked through his phone and said that he was meeting up with a bunch of 14-year-old girls. So comes to find out, my dad is a pedophile. My mom kicked him out, and if you're one of those girls, I really do apologize.
I was a sophomore in high school. I had this teacher who would only let the students in her class use the restroom 1 time per semester. Well, one day I raised my hand and I was like, excuse me, I don't remember her name, can I please use the restroom? And she was like, no you can't, because you've already used the restroom in my class this semester. Well, excuse me, you can't dictate my bladder. So I'm like all frustrated, and I started secretly texting my mom because I wasn't allowed to use my phone in class. And I was like, Mom, I'm sitting in class right now, my teacher won't let me use the restroom. And she was like, I'll take care of it for you. And I was like, okay. So like 5 minutes goes by, and all of a sudden my teacher's phone starts ringing, and she walks up to it and answers it, and she's like, hello? Yeah. Okay, thank you. And then she walks up to me like so angry, and she like slams the pass on my desk, and she was like, since you have to go that bad. And I was like, yeah, I really do, thanks. And I got up and left. I didn't even have to go to the bathroom. It was just the principle of it. I just run the halls.
This is a story of the time that I caught my neighbor's mom talking smack about me. So I don't know about you guys, but every single Wednesday in my middle school we would have a bagel sale. And some people's parents would come in to help out. And my neighbor's mom was one of those parents. And I had a best friend at the time whose mom would also work at the bagel sales. But this best friend of mine, her mom never let us hang out with each other because she felt that I was a bad influence on her. When in reality, it was the complete opposite. She was the one that snuck the boys in her house, if you guys remember that story time, where they peed in a flower pot. So basically her mom wouldn't let us hang out. And sometimes my friend would go with her mom in the morning, basically as a ride to school and to help out with the bagels too. And one day when she went in with her mom, my neighbor's mom also was there too. So my friend starts eavesdropping into their conversation, and my friend's mom brings me up and says how much of a bad kid I am and a bad influence. And my neighbor's mom was like, oh wow, that's my neighbor, like we always suspected something bad about her, our whole entire neighborhood knows this about her, basically making stuff up about me. So then I go home crying, tell my mom. Part 2 of catching my neighbor's mom talking smack about me. So my best friend tells me all these things that my neighbor was saying about me, obviously. And I got really upset, so I went home and I just started to cry. Because for some reason I felt like when I was younger, every one of my friends' parents hated me. And I never really knew why. I was always the type of person to like let my friends do whatever they want and encourage them in doing whatever they want, whether that's breaking the rules or following the rules. So I mean, I guess that could be something, but I'm just being a supportive friend, like... Sorry, I got off topic. So when I told my mom, she was like, okay, come with me, I'm gonna knock on her door. And I was like, heck no, I do not feel like dealing with this. Mom, you deal with it. So she calls her up on the phone, puts her on speakerphone, confronts her about the situation, and this lady starts going on about how she loves me like I'm her own child, saying that I was never a bad influence on her daughter, and that she actually wanted me to hang out with her daughter more. Like, that's not what she was saying at Bagel.